Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. So I've been thinking about how to work weekly readings. So as you would have noticed last week, I posted a general reading, which is the way I was reading previously before I took like a year's hiatus for the pandemic, apparently. And what I wanted to do now is also just look at like different ways of reading on other, for the rest of the month. So I'll also do a full moon reading and, kind of work with that. And then the weeks where there isn't like a full moon or a new moon, use different decks and different divination styles and tactics and so forth that don't work within that construct, right? That don't work within the construct of Paul Foster Case's general reading. So that kind of opens the space to introduce and use more of the decks that I have, which I love doing. But it's also, kind of a fun opportunity to play. I'm also in the middle of a depth year. It doesn't mean that I'm not buying any new decks. It means that I'm really, really restricting and limiting the purchase of new decks, only to things that are really unusual or artists who I really, really, really want to support. That kind of thing. I think that makes sense. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is when I'm using a deck or introducing a deck that I have not where everybody's like, wow, I didn't know you had fill in the blank deck, or I didn't know you were doing XYZ divination style. Then that offers an opportunity to go back in time, pull out the unboxing and or walkthrough of it, which I have amassed many of. I can't say that I've done that with every single like new deck that I have, but I have with quite a few. But that will offer us the opportunity then, for me to pull it out, show it to you, especially when it's an indie deck, or a creator that is really worth supporting independently, and be able to just go with it. I think we're on the same page there. So today, the one I want to work with is the Hieronymus Bosch Tarot. So this is a really bizarre deck. It does not follow the typical structure of tarot, and yet in some respect it does. It's definitely working with septenaries, but it has a very, very unusual sort of style, as we will see. A lot of the majors have been renamed, right? So there's our Fool, but it is all very, very different. So this is a deck by Travis Henry. It is a deck that I found and purchased from his Kickstarter campaign, and it's absolutely wonderful and crazy and fun to play with. I have been wanting to read with this deck for so long. I only finally pulled it out, I guess, when I did the fundraiser for the cats, and we had a fun reading about Meghan and Harry with it. I guess if you're going to read, about an institution as old as, royal families, it works, to pick up a deck that has the intelligence and the collective lineage of old Europe, and an old structure. So, yeah. So with that said, I'm going to be reading with a spread that I found. It's a weekly planning tarot spread that I found on the 5/16ths blog. I'm probably putting the picture of the spread up right here. I will have the blog linked below. It's a nice spread. I thought we would give it a try and use it for a bit until there's a different one that I want to play with or a different one to use. But it's also kind of a nice opportunity just to, find a spread that someone else has put out and put it forth. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and flip the camera around and shuffle the cards. Okay, so this is the deck. There is also a cloth that came with it, but it's put away for now. I don't really see a need to pull it out on camera. I've got the deck right here. We'll shuffle it thrice. As you can see, it shuffles like a dream. Okay, so The first position, because this has been in my little, my stack of readings here for a while. Oh, my candle went out. Of course it did. There will be a pause. Okay, it is now lit, as you can see here. And I realized too that it wasn't even in view. So now it is also in view. So there we are. So we will go ahead and begin drawing cards. The first card would be our weekly theme. Oh, look at that. So, so we're starting the week with the Page of Coins, who is crapping coins out of its butt. So what could be more fun or more wholesome than this Page of Coins shitting money? I don't know. But here we are. So if this is our weekly theme, obviously we're in need of watching what we spend, possibly rebudgeting, looking at the way that we earn money, but especially the way we spend it. How are we allocating it? How are we budgeting it? Where are we needlessly throwing money away, where we could be actually taking better care of it? This could also be wasting resources, right? Crapping your resources away. Where are you putting energy where it is not needed? Where are you wasting energy, wasting time? Where do we need to exercise greater sphincteral integrity over what we over our resources and finances? How about that? So there we go. That's definitely it's giving us a definite sense of who it is. The deck here, telling us what it, how it thinks and operates. Okay, so card number 2 is going to be what we're looking at the very beginning of the week. So what does the very beginning of our week look like? Aha! So the beginning of our week, we have the Dreamer. Okay, so the Dreamer is also known as the Star. Yeah, XVII, that would be 17. So we're looking at the Star. Well, let's go ahead and grab the rest of our cards. I have a theory here, but I think maybe it's best to go ahead and pull most of the rest of the week. And then look at the lesson of the week and see how they all come together. So we'll look at middle of the week. Card number 3. Oops. So 2 jumped. 2 cards jumped for position 3. We have the Baron of Berries. Oh, and the Baron of Skates. And then card 4 is the middle of the week. The way that these are set up seems to be pretty arbitrary. Yeah. So here is where we go. Week 4, end of the week, is the Ace of Vessels. 5 is our weekend next week. So by the time we get to the weekend, what will we be looking at? Interesting. I knew this card would come up in the reading today somewhere. Okay, so we have Deception. So Deception is the weekend. We can see how this is shaping up already, right? And then finally we get to what is my lesson for the week. Ah, it's like all over the place. Here we go. Oh, the river to hell. Look at that. Okay. Okay. I'm going to say, there's a reason why all of those cards were were right side up. And this one was the one down, facing down. It was the only one. And we're going to go ahead and accept our river to hell and raise it an opportunity for there to be more pooping coins. Just kidding. So here, there's a lot of butts and buttholes in this painter's repertoire. And we're back to this angle. I decided it was easier to come back to this angle and tell you the meanings of the cards and hold them up than it would be to try and lean over the computer this way. I'm finding that harder and harder to do, probably way too much sitting over the last year, I'm guessing. So we have our page of coins as our theme of the week, right? So looking at resources, looking at how we waste them, potentially looking at, needing to revise our budget, revise our spending, where are there excesses, all of those kinds of things, right? How do we manage our resources? So that's our theme for the week. So as we approach the beginning of the week, we have the dreamer. So the dreamer, there's a lot of hope here. This would normally be the star. And I did spend some time between shots here with my reading glasses and a bright light, going back to the booklet that Travis Henry writes. I couldn't find my PDF. I know I have it somewhere. But at any rate, the dreamer is, we have that frog creature, kind of climbing up there. There's hope, right? But there's hope and there's intuition. And there's a need to tap into that intuition, probably through rest, through sleep, through examining things, and then giving it space, for insights and information, to manifest. So that's our second card. Then we get to the middle of the week. The middle of the week will be interesting. We have the Baron of Berries and the Baron of Skates. And let's look at the Baron of Berries. So we've got two men who have broken open this lovely, berry, huge strawberry, and there are blueberries and cherries and all kinds of wonderful treasures inside, and they're sharing it, right? So they're kind of diving in and like, ooh, this looks pretty good, let's eat. It's possible that we may be looking at a lot of us getting stimulus checks in the mail this week. That's my I have a big instinct about that. We need to be careful in general, right? What we do with those resources. Do we dive straight in and start eating them? Or do we make wise decisions about it? We're going to be very tempted to dive in and start eating instead of making wise decisions. The Baron of Skates. So the barons in general, in Travis Henry's deck, in this particular deck, he says that they are the lowest octave of power in the courts. So all of his suits are based on different recurring themes. And so berries are one, skates are another. There are swords, there are vessels. I think there's like stones or something related to coins. There are coins. Yes, we've just seen the coins. So, I mean, there are overlaps. There's also the 7 deadly sins in there. But basically, he's working with septenaries instead of, so there are 8 septenaries instead of 4 suits of 14 cards. And most of his cards are courts, okay? So we can look at these as qualities that we have in ourselves, I think, and how those are going to play out. When we look at this Baron of Skates, right, it's a little bit dark. We think about skating on ice. There's something under the surface, right? There's something under the surface. The surface itself is very slippery. And yet, look how competent he is. He's very confident. He's happy to be skating on the ice. He's got his little bow and his arrows, and he looks like, he's a platypus. He looks like he's ready to start shooting people with his little arrows and his bow. So I think we look at the ways in which these two overlap, choosing wrong decisions about how those resources are used, giving into the temptation to eat all the goodies right away, that type of thing, combined with the Baron of Skates, who's confident they're making the right decision. They absolutely know they're making the right decision. But are they? And I would say too that the Baron of Skates has the ability to question themselves. The berries less so. So we're looking at these two sides of ourselves, right? The ability to kind of skate on the thin ice, to look at how, there's a lot here. There's a lot that's going on. It's a little difficult. It's a little uncomfortable, but you know how to skate across that surface and to do it competently and confidently. You're just going to have to balance these two factors, right? Don't give in to the berries too quickly. Knowing that you can't give in to the berries, figure out how you need to use what you have to the best of your ability, I think is what we're looking at. So the middle of the week, that's going to be a big theme that emerges for us. By the end of the week, we've got a greater sense. We've got the Ace of Vessels, right? So if we look at this, everyone here is fed, everyone's satisfied. If you look more closely, remember what I said about buttholes? Some have taken too much of their fill and are pooping it straight back out. Some are vomiting it back up. But there is so much there that it's possible for that to take place, right? So we may have more resources available than what we realized. But again, having more resources available than what we realized can be a blessing and it can be a curse, right? Because that's what leads to this to begin with, right? So as we see literally what the flow is, right? We have the little demon guys up here pouring stuff in. In fact, I kind of, the way Travis Henry describes this is so funny that I feel like I have to read it. And I will have to pull out my cheaters because my eyes just bug out of my head trying to read it. So, the Ace of Vessels, meaning pouring out blessings, success, and satiety. So it's similar to the traditional Ace of Cups, but with much more vivid imagery that has been stripped of any religious symbology. A group of nude people sit around a gigantic barrel drinking liquid from the many holes that have been drilled into it. On the top of the open barrel, people have jumped into the liquid. Jumped into the liquid or are being helped in by demon creatures. Those around the bottom of the barrel are taking more than their fill. Many of them are throwing up the liquid or expelling it out of their backsides. The barrel is a kind of cornucopia that will never be empty, no matter how many holes are created. In the background, there is a table with a knife and a rope and some splatters of blood on it. It's possible these are the remains of things that have been sacrificed and placed into the barrel. And this is why it will never run dry, because the demons who service the barrel continually fill it with fresh life. Then his final sentence for this card is, this card is connected with abundance and joy. It's abundance and joy. So how funny is that? Okay. So we can say that it's abundance, it's joy, it's having everything that you need. It's clear that we're walking a fine line this week. Okay. So we're walking a fine line this week as a culture, right? If those checks are in fact coming out, as this is a collective reading, we are going to see that dichotomy of perspectives about it, okay? And then we're going to have the dichotomy of perspectives about it within our homes and ourselves, okay? But we have to be aware, even if we're feeling the crunch, right? Even if we're feeling the financial crunch, we've all got the ability to create our own wealth and to have it flow. The key is going to be, over the weekend, being able to see the ways in which self-deception is holding us back. So this is the Chariot. And And in this one, this is a very dark chariot. He says the only bad card in the deck is the River to Hell, which of course came up to visit us this week, because why wouldn't it? But, deception, the ways in which we don't understand ourselves, we don't understand what drives us. These creepy beings are like molesting this woman in her sleep. If she were to wake up and see it, she'd be horrified, right? And it's less that we're having the wool pulled over our eyes, so much as that, so in other words, it's not the government doing it. It's not, there's no great conspiracy. What is it that we need to take responsibility for? What kind of things are driving us? Why, what are we giving attention to? What could we give attention to? What is it that we need to understand about ourselves in the deep darkness of night and through our intuition that will help us to make better decisions, or frankly, just to find greater peace, right? Finding greater peace. But we have to get past the self-deception. Yeah, that's an important aspect here. And then finally, we have the River to Hell. Now, this is not our outcome, right? This is the lesson for the week, okay? And I would say that the River to Hell is about suffering. It's not so much the tower where things are falling apart as it is like, being on this path that leads to greater suffering. So the lesson for the week is to understand how we may be on that path, or how we may be creating that path for ourselves without any awareness that we're doing it. And understand that better. That's hard. This is by all means not a very easy, an easy reading. If I were to say, like, is there a lighter version of the reading? Sure, there always is. We could say that this is simply about, the theme of the week is to look at time and resources, allocate it better, sleep on it before making any big decisions, realizing that by the middle of the week, there will be some temptations to jump in. But what we need to do is actually skate across the surface without diving in too deeply yet. Exercise some self-discipline, maybe have some fun, and put our attention elsewhere instead of being gluttons. By the end of the week, we'll have a better sense of how our resources flow, and the understanding that they're not going to run out, that exercising a certain amount of self-discipline will keep that flow running. And, going through this process may also begin to reveal by the weekend ways in which we've been deceiving ourselves, right? Ways in which we are ultimately creating our own suffering through lack of awareness. So how about that? So that is the Bosch Tarot. And this is, let's say that this covers the week starting Sunday the 21st. Let's just say Sunday the 21st of March, and runs us through until Saturday the 27th. I'm gonna vote for that. I think that's a good way to look at it. And then I'll be back on the 28th with a full moon reading. So delightful. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.